welcome in to this edition of Game Gone Wrong. I mean, there is a question, and DJ just posted to us as we were off camera that we're going to have to answer at the end of this episode, which is, of course, the episode title would be The Beginning of the End because we are now at the end of season 3 of House of the Dragon. And we are moving into the final season of House of the Dragon, season 4. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting conversation as to what side of the fence are we on at the end of this season, because we saw a very hopeful queen has turned into kind of a tyrant here at the end of all of this stuff. But I am not alone, of course. Welcoming back into the show, I want to go first to the man who's been out for a couple of weeks now, but he's back. His beard is full and glowing. He is shirtless for the season finale. It is the one and only, the mindless one himself, DJ. Brother, how you doing, man? You all caught up on the show? You ready to rock?
I'm caught up on the show. I'm ready to rock. Sorry I missed a couple episodes. Just been a rough couple of weeks. Long story short, I so I've got tendonitis of the wrist. So I haven't been able to work out. I had a cortisone shot yesterday and just a lot of shit going on. So sorry I missed last episode, but I'm glad I'm here for the season finale because what a hell of an episode to unpack.
Yeah, really. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to talk about in this episode, a lot of things to consider, and it's going to be a good conversation as we reach the end of season 3. And actually, this is kind of what season 3 of Game Gone Wrong is kind of ending here, right? I mean, this is our third foray into this whole thing where, yeah, it's kind of cool. So, of course, welcoming in the man who's been by my side for all of this wonderful season, watching all hell break loose on every front possible here in Dragonland, the one and only PC Tunney. Tunney, how are you doing, buddy? Are you thrilled to be here to talk about this epic episode? And answer that question, that burning question that DJ posed off air, which I'd like anybody who's watching to contemplate this. You still Team Black at the end of this season? Tunney, how you doing, man?
I'm still Team House of the Dragon and Team Game of Thrones and Team 7 9 Kingdoms, but I don't know how much I think I support almost everybody else but Rhaenyra at this point. We're going to get all the reasons why, but
that's a good point, man.
Yeah, the part of me that wants to save face is like, well, she could still pull it off, but good God, Aegon's a monster.
Oh man, it's just I thought Aegon would come back kind of trite and a little bit humbled, and nope. That's not what we got. We're going to get into that really, really quickly here. Miss Attitude, she's watching right now. So she's all caught up so she can actually listen in on this show. And I don't know about participate, but, And we got our friend Tunney from a couple episodes ago. Lee Radley's in here. Getting sick of these Targaryens riding around on their nukes burning down in the port. Yes.
They're a mess of a civilization, pal.
This is true. As we've said many times on this show, that the dragons are weapons of mass destruction, and a little bit more subdued in this episode than I thought they would be because we got all this other shit going on. But there's still some important stuff to discuss in this episode. So what do you think, guys? You know what, Deej, I'll go right to you first. Let me get your overall kind of your thoughts on the season finale for House of the Dragon. Just before we dig into the deep waters of this thing, what did you think of the season finale? Were you okay with it? Were you happy with it? Were you dissatisfied? There's a lot of mixed opinions online about this season finale, but how did you feel about it, man?
I enjoyed it. I think it was Tunney who said in our little group chat that we have going on that he thought it was the single best episode across the Game of Thrones universe.
No, season.
Maybe said the best season.
The best season. I'm sorry, the best season across the entirety of the Game of Thrones universe. I would almost second that. I don't think I'm quite there. I think there was a couple of seasons of the original series that I liked maybe slightly more, but I have absolutely no complaints. There were some shocking moments that we're going to pick apart here later. Definitely some things I did not see coming, which again we're probably going to talk about. But all in all, man, I am already ready for season 4, and we've got a year and a half.
Yeah, we'll be going back to the 7 9 kingdoms before we ever get to House of the Dragon season 4, and that's okay. That is okay. Tuddy, I know you thought this was probably the best season ever of anything Game of Thrones related across the board. What about the season finale? Were you okay with it? Disappointed? Happy? Somewhere in the middle of all that?
I thought it was great. They gave you enough to. They gave you enough of a. It was a battle, right? It was a really brief battle that happened where everybody realized that that crazy son of a bitch on that dragon up there is really by himself, and well, he's probably going to die pretty quick next season. So, or already be dead when we start next season. Um, but it's just it was a good episode. It really was. It sets the table for next season. And I finally watched the post episode
Bravo.
kind of expose or whatever you want to talk about it, post exo facto or whatever you want to call it. But it just reminded us of something that we kind of talked about. Is the it's the dragons have to start dying and pretty quick next season.
Yeah.
So just let that sink in as we move into wherever we're going to get to that, because it's not going to be easy. I've already caught myself a few times during this season and then past seasons. Whenever the dragons get hurt, I'm like, oh, hey, did you hurt anybody else, but not the dragons?
It's fun. It's funny how it works out that way. It's like, yeah, I don't care about the people, but
like I hated that fight with Sheep
save the
Stealer, and
dragons.
I hated the fight with Sheep Stealer and the other dragons, right? Like dragon on dragon violence is even worse,
Wow. Yes. But no, you're right. Next year will be very bloody for the Dragons. Next season, excuse me, it'll be probably what 2028 before we see this show again, which is
I heard that
depressing.
I heard that they had set a date to start shooting the next season,
Yeah.
though.
Somewhere in
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere in 27, they'll start shooting. But my thoughts on this overall episode was I thought, like you guys, it's a very good episode. There's a lot going on here. Rhaenyra's descent into tyranny really comes full circle in this episode. But at the end of the day, there aren't any real winners. There's going to be, and here Mrs. Attitude's right there with you, Tony. She feels bad for Sheep Stealer. Yeah, man, we all felt bad, dear. Poor Sheep Stealer got abused pretty badly for no reason other than just being a dragon. But I thought the season finale, it was very good. Not a lot gets decided. There aren't any winners. Certainly the battle does not go the way Daemon thought it was going to go. Nothing really goes the way people think it's going to go in this episode, which is kind of what makes it really good in the end. Is like, okay, nothing really. From my standpoint, did it go the way I thought? Not exactly, but were there any massive surprises? I mean, certainly there's more. If you compare the season finale here for season 3 and compare it to season 2, this is a much stronger season finale than the way season 2 just kind of ended on like a cliffhanger with, going into the Battle of the Gullet. This actually had a battle, just an inconclusive one, but you get to see so much happening in this episode. So what do you say we break this down and get into the details on this thing and talk about the big picture, the big items here? I think the main one, we start off, which was very interesting. Rhaenyra gets word that Aegon has survived. Not only has Aegon survived, Sunfire has survived. They're both alive. Rhaenyra just fucking collapses and crumbles when she hears this news. She's inconsolable. She's going to Daemon. She's crying. Daemon's just kind of like, you could tell the look on his face is like, shut the hell up already. Get it together. You're the queen. Stop being such a wuss, But, she's just, Rhaenyra in this moment is just increasingly frantic about what does this mean for my legitimacy? Aegon's out there. Daemon just kind of, is on her. Stop hesitating. Be decisive. And then the conversations quickly revolve and evolve into this coming attack on Tumbleton, and whether Rhaenyra really believes that she is the rightful ruler. So this is, season 3 her whole arc kind of comes to a crucible here, right? Because she can't just rely on saying my father chose me anymore. Now she wants to basically say this is about history, this is about destiny, this is about prophecy, as we're going to see, as she's going to force the faith to accept her, uh, alive or dead, it doesn't matter to her. And so psychologically, I think this is a much more dangerous place for Rhaenyra to be. And you get to see as this episode goes along, this wears on her, and she just kind of psychologically, I don't know about unravels, but she evolves in a certain direction in this episode. And Aegon's return and Sunfire's return really seems to be the motivating force behind this. So, Tony, let me go to you first. Your thoughts on Rhaenyra's kind of emotional just crumbling here at the early part of this episode once she learns that Aegon and Sunfire are still alive.
Yeah, it's quite annoying immediately. But then it's interestingly enough, like after she has her moment with Damon, she kind of flips the script really quick and like wants like full vengeance, and enough so that she just is like, coyly to Damon, like don't make me look, bloodthirsty or whatever. I think she said something like that, wink wink, if we do what you got to do. But
Right.
I mean, this is pretty much tipped the point of her saying, okay, I think we need to go ahead and take action when she was trying not to.
Deej, what do you think, man? I mean, Tony's right. This does kind of push her in that direction.
Yeah, you use the word unraveling, and honestly, that's the correct word. We've been watching her slowly unravel since she got um, to the castle. Once she got in there, and first she realizes we're broke. You know,
Yeah.
we're broke. The castle's a mess. It's infested with rats, and it's just one punch after another that basically just illegitimizes her claim to the throne. It's done this for the last 4 episodes, and then Aegon's still being alive, Helena being pregnant. She's catching it. She's catching strays from all ends. Yes, she finally does. She finally unravels, and we've talked on every single season of this show in multiple episodes how the crazy Targaryen gene is there. She's just been waiting for the trigger, and the final trigger was Aegon.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Aegon really triggers, and that's a good point, Deej. Her just that whole idea of what does this mean for my legitimacy? And because there's so much about legitimacy in the season, right? It is a subplot, almost like a subreddit of this fucking show this year, because legitimacy rears its ugly head so much. Am I the legitimate ruler? Legitimacy of Corlys's sons, legitimacy of Rhaenyra's own kids. This idea of legitimacy keeps turning up, keeps revolving after every season of this show. And that is a major point because she thinks she's now established herself. I'm on the throne. I'm the queen. And as we saw for 8 episodes, that gets challenged at every step of the way. And it finally catches up with her here. The early, like the opening moments of this episode is Rhaenyra falling apart. So, and one of the more surprising, I don't know if surprising, I guess this makes sense from the standpoint of just kind of the way Rhaenyra, the direction she's moving in, is what she does with Mysaria. Because, last episode, Rhaenyra and Mysaria had a little bit of sexy time going on there, as Patrick O'Dowd would say, Tony. They were getting it on. And you think, okay, Mysaria's like, this is where I've got the queen where I want to be. I'm literally in bed with her, that sort of thing. So, Rhaenyra, I guess, the episode never really kind of defines why she basically exiles Mysaria out of this whole place. I mean, I think you can speculate that maybe it was because Mysaria concealed Helena's pregnancy from her. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's because Rhaenyra knows she has strong feelings for Mysaria, and she doesn't want that to get in the way of what she needs to do, where she knows that she needs to go to make this decision. Maybe she feels guilty about what happened with the two of them, and especially as she's turning to Daemon for more of this stuff. You know, I guess, and maybe she's pissed off that Mysaria didn't really do her job, which was to let her know, hey, Aegon's still out there somewhere. Now, I don't know how she could have possibly known that, but she's what is her nickname, right? The Mistress of Whisperers, right? I mean, that's what Masseria is. So you're supposed to be the one, all the clandestine stuff. You're supposed to be like the CIA of this show, and this huge revelation that you should have heard something about this. She didn't hear anything about that, and I don't know if maybe that has something to do with Rhaenyra saying you need to go. But Masseria doesn't take this whole shit lying down quietly. She just doesn't go gently into that good night. She tells Helena and is brutally clear. And this is, I suspect this has a big motivation on what happens with Helena. But she's like, you can't trust her. All the stuff about, you're carrying Aegon's child. What do you think that's going to mean for you? And as a lot of the chaos is going on, Masseria, she manages to slip away, which kind of like harkens back to the original Game of Thrones. Like, didn't this happen with somebody else was being shuttled out of this, or it was like Tyrion's like love interest, right? Shay, didn't that sort of happen to her as well? Something similar to this, where she's supposed to be going someplace and she kind of escapes and ends up someplace differently. So, and Masseria knows all the secrets of the Red Keep. So good luck finding her. But Deej, let me go to you right now. You could actually draw a parallel more to unidentified history here than anything else, because it's like you're firing the person who knows all of the secrets of your government. Probably not a good strategic decision on Rhaenyra's part here.
No, she knows where all the bodies are buried. But what I'm telling myself, because
perfect analogy, Deej.
Yeah.
That is full on unidentified history.
She knows where all the bodies are buried. But what I'm telling myself is, because they didn't, like you said, they didn't thoroughly explain it in the episode as to why she fired her and ushered her out of the city. She just didn't flick the beam properly. I think at the end of the day, that was the deciding factor.
Okay,
but no, I digress. I think I just broke Tubby. I think I just broke Dave.
Wow. She fired her because you just didn't get it done in the sack.
You didn't get it done in the sack, pal. No, we've spent the last several episodes with Rhaenyra having a devil on one shoulder and a devil on the other. And I think she finally chose what she felt to be the better of the two devils, and that is Daemon. And I think we talked about that the last time I was on with you guys. She was going to have to choose one of them. And it ended up being Daemon.
And it makes sense. I mean, when the chips are down, when everything's on the line, who would you rather go marching into battle with? Masseria, who has no dragon?
The Targaryen is going to choose blood over bureaucracy every day. Every day. And Daemon's all about the bloodletting.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's like, let it flow. Tunney, what did you think of this whole situation with Rhaenyra and Masseria and how that kind of went down? Because I think Deej, other than the, maybe she didn't do it for her in the sack sort of thing, we don't know. But what do you think about his other more, let's say, more well-reasoned analysis?
I think Rhaenyra may have known even before they hooked up that last time, right? Like, hey, well, I'm not going to let you know this, but let's have one last fling and then we'll send you out of here.
Yeah.
It is interesting, you bring up the point of you let the person go that knows the most, that it can do the most damage, but she doesn't think that she's going to escape. She thinks she's going to be sent to where she's being sent. Like most people have been gone to where they're supposed to go. I'll kind of hold off on their next meeting that only one is aware of, which is towards the end of the episode. But yeah, it's interesting. It's really kind of like, if you want to nitpick something in the episode, like the way she gets away is a little bit kind of, really, if it was that important, would we not have, like,
right.
I mean,
right.
But so question again, how smart is Rhaenyra for not having a super guarded, exile?
Well, most of her guard is dead.
I completely agree with that as well, right? And the rest of it is about to be put into a horrible position.
Yeah, by the time you get into it, most everybody's gone. So, but yeah, I mean, it is kind of like, it's like, now a wrestling analogy, it's the ref bump, right? Oh, there's a distraction over here, and they just escape
Here come the shenanigans.
That's right, escape through the crowd. So I mean, it kind of works that way.
Somebody say shenanigans. I love that place.
Helena and Rhaenyra, this gets very uncomfortable, and of course it's going to end tragically at the end of this whole thing. But Helena stopped eating; she's sinking further into despair. Rhaenyra tries to reason with her, but Helena kind of like does this moral judgment card and throws it back on her. And Helena's the one who kind of like calls Rhaenyra out that your power in this war have changed you. Whatever nobility you may have had is pretty much gone. And Rhaenyra kind of demonstrating just how right Helena is. Is she compassionate for her? No, she force feeds her fucking ass. Guards pin her down and force feeds her. And I think this is one of those examples where you just kind of get to see how nasty Rhaenyra is starting to turn into, because this is her sister who's pregnant. And instead of showing any modicum of compassion or sympathy or empathy on that, for that matter, she does something really kind of tyrannical here, and really just like get the guards, shove this down your fucking throat, and this is what's going to happen. So Helena at this point, and you take this, and when we get to the episode, we'll talk about the tragedy of Helena, but she sees what's going on. Mysarius warned her about this, and as this is happening, Rhaenyra now is not treating her as a sister. She's not even really treating her as a person. Helena's being preserved because she's probably a pawn or a useful tool in this whole thing at this point.
She's a dreamer.
Well, that too, yeah. And there's since you watch the so you watch the whole thing at the end, and there's fewer dreamers and dragons. So go ahead, Tony, while you're talking. So jump on in here, man.
Sorry, my bad.
Caught him in mid sip like a bartender.
No.
Yeah. The one thing Rhaenyra has going for her going into next season is what Helena leaves in her windowsill is what she's been sewing and knitting and which is like prophetic, so that could be something. I don't know if she was prophesizing exactly what was going to happen to her or what was about to happen to everybody else, but it sure looked like everybody was going to die, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that could be the one interesting thing, but yeah, it's just sad all around. And I don't think she thinks of it really as her sister. She thinks of it as Alicent's daughter and Aegon's wife, right? Alicent is more of a sister to her than Helena is, right? If we really want to think about it, that's who her sister is. That's why she's still alive, Alicent. Do you guys also think that the scene with Alicent where the butterflies are flying, that she's being told that Helena has passed?
That's how I interpreted it.
That's what I heard.
I mean, whether it's really, however you want to describe it, her soul being freed and sending a message to Alicent, or whether it's just symbolism because of what Helena represented with butterflies and cat, and like she talks to Rhaenyra in this scene about a beetle, a beautiful beetle that feeds on the waste of other creatures, right? And I mean, it's poetic in a way, but this is who Helena is that, and what makes this whole situation even worse, because Helena sees the beauty in creatures who are engaged in the worst sort of stuff, right? And Rhaenyra is just lost to all that now. And Rhaenyra wasn't always that way, and probably wasn't that way when the season started. But as you get to this point near the end, Helena sees all this stuff, and she still sees the beauty in the world, despite the worst of it, until the very end, Deej, I'll go to you on this whole Helena Rhaenyra kind of thing. I mean, when we get to I guess we can tie it into and just, cut to the chase.
Yeah, you kind of can't talk about this without talking about that. It's just, even though they happen in total ends of the episode.
Total ends of the episode. But go ahead, Deej. Talk about the Helena Rhaenyra, the evolution and.
I think Tunney hit the nail on the head with the butterflies, because wasn't there a episode earlier on in the season where Helena's in the garden and she's messing with a caterpillar?
Yes.
Am I remembering that correctly? Okay, so I tied all that together pretty quickly. As far as Rhaenyra and how she treats her, God, this is just a panic move. She's panicking at this point. Aegon's still alive. She has Aegon's wife, his unborn child. We have a whole situation here. If nothing else, I need to keep her alive as long as possible. And I think in that moment, Helena realizes she has more power for Rhaenyra alive, which is partially why she's trying to starve herself to death. And then at the end of the day, she's like, you know what? I'll just take it the quick way.
Yeah.
Aegon's going to think that Rhaenyra killed her.
Exactly.
And his unborn child. Yes.
Right.
And his unborn child. When this comes out, comes news of this,
he is going to rain hell down on that woman.
Oh, it's gonna be hellish. Let's our friend Lee's got some stuff. Mysaria's plot with her being a voice for the poor and the small folk. Honestly, I'm not sure why the showrunner keeps her in. I mean, it's a good point. I see where Mysaria's benefit is. Well, I mean, where does she fit in season 4 is a good question, because she's basically been a shit stirrer during this season and is playing Daemon versus Rhaenyra the whole season, and it works to some extent until it doesn't at the end. Go ahead, Tony.
There's one place she still has favor. The last person she gave a favor to that was outside of who she's loyal to, and that was when she didn't tell on Allison. So Allison still kind of owes her a little bit. So she could end up being an insider from the High Towers, in the shadows there at King's Landing. So
I think she still has a part to play in season 4.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she does. It's just like standing at where we end up with season 3 and looking at the landscape. It's like, I'm not sure where she fits in, but people like her always seem to turn up, like a bad penny, to use old vernacular, right, Deej? Like a bad penny, they just turn up. Don't call me a boomer, please, Tony. Thank you. So
no, I just spent this one. How'd I get it back so quick?
Yeah, exactly. Lee also had a comment about Helena, the tapestry, her knitting the tapestry was cool. It really was, because you see her working on it the entire season, but you don't get the full flavor of what she has created until the very end, when you realize that she's, thrown herself out the window and has killed herself. The old, escaping Rhaenyra's wrath the most tragic way possible.
And I love how that ties into the intro of the show, because the intro of the show is all the cross stitch work.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, like you guys are saying, Aegon is going to be furious about this, as if he's not pissed off enough at the world.
Yeah, he's already mad at everybody that lives.
But how is Allison going to I mean, this, Allison is going to realize that everything she told Rhaenyra earlier in the season, that this is what will become of you, this is what you will turn into, that's going to be more evident than ever to her when she realizes and learns what has happened to Helena, but at the same time, the guilt that Allison is going to feel because she left her to go on this mission for Rhaenyra, and the worst case scenario has taken place. So I don't know, man. It was terribly tragic. And
yeah, I think that'll be the final nail in the coffin in that relationship.
Yeah.
Because I went off to do something for you. Never mind the fact that she didn't succeed at the task, which we'll get to in a minute. But she comes back, and the only thing I asked you to do was keep my kid alive. And
well, never mind the fact on top of that. Think about what Rhaenyra has done to Alicent this season, right? She beheads her fucking father, and then Helena dies on her watch while she's off to do some sort of mission half-ass that she never even wanted to do.
I know we're all like in the midst of jumping ship to the other side here, but let's not forget this is all Allison's fault, because she desperately wanted her line to be in power, and when she knew the whole time that he wasn't talking about their fucking dope of a fucking kid. I mean, come on, let's be real.
Was that her dream, or was that her father's?
It's her father's.
Yeah, I think her father put that in her head. I don't think she had any real lust for power until her dad planted that.
I mean, there's the
Planted that
story
on
of
her.
and this is where we come back to prophecy because Rhaenyra thinks that she's prophesized with this whole thing. My embroidery dudes. Yes, we know. Thank you, Mrs. Attitude. It is embroidery, and I appreciate when my wife, throws us these little nuggets of wisdom. So,
Is that
you know,
origami she was doing? Is that what that's called? Origami?
I don't think you're
Is
gonna
that
you're gonna
underwater basket weaving? I've heard of that too.
bro. I gotta
Origami,
live with
that's
this.
what
I gotta
Rhaenyra
live
and
with this.
Lysandra were doing earlier.
I just
Yeah.
remember
Never mind.
there's this Eve Six song where they mention origami.
I gotta deal with her later on, Tony. Don't put the attitude in Mrs. Attitude too much. So
Welcome to Not My Problem, everybody.
That sounds like a Dave problem.
it really does.
Love
It
you,
really
Mrs.
does.
Attitude. Mwah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Guys are such good friends.
Davey, do you have a
Okay,
comfortable couch?
I do. I'm on it most of the time anyway.
Curl up with the pack of dogs he's got
Let-
in him. He'll be fine.
yeah. Let's talk about Tumbleton. I mean, because this is where a lot of what's going on with this episode is really focusing in on the Battle of Tumbleton. So Damon marches in on Tumbleton. The military. This is the military centerpiece of the finale. The long-awaited. I mean, they've been teasing this battle for since episode 2, right? So we've gone 5 episodes before we finally get here. Damon finally gets the green light from Rhaenyra. Go conquer. Just don't make me look bad and all this. So okay. So Damon leads Rhaenyra's forces alongside the River Lords. Roderick Dustin is there. Roddy the Ruin. I think that's the grizzled veteran of the dude who's like, yeah, he's like, don't worry, I won't die until I open the gate. That sort of thing.
That interaction with his Damon is like the best head coach ever. He gives the greatest pep talks. Everybody's always fired up. He's done it multiple times, right? He got it. Get inside, open door, then die.
Yeah, it's like if Damon was like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Once you have the door open, then you have my permission to die. So it's
so good though. He's so good. He's easily one of the greatest warriors in Game of Thrones lore, and you can see that and see why individually and leading a group.
Yeah. This seems simple enough for Damon and for the forces of Rhaenyra, right? We're going to basically Hulk smash, we're going to smash your battlements. We're going to burn everything. We're going to take out your position. We're going to remove one of the strongest remaining threats to Rhaenyra's rule. It'll be over quick and easy. Perfect. But Ormond proves, that son of a bitch that he is, how smart he is, because he does something very ugly. And there's a lot of ugliness in this episode, but here is one of the more ugly things he does. He uses children. He places children in front of the defenses, knowing that Rhaenyra, he's gambling on the fact that Damon, even as bloodlusting as he is not going to unleash dragon fire on a bunch of innocent kids. And this is why, as much as DJ and I, and Tony, I know you dislike Ormond as well, but you have to tip your hat to him and talk about military strategery here and say, smart move. Because he's been doing this the whole season. He has taken Tumbleton with the understanding that Rhaenyra will never burn her own supporters. And here he amplifies that, says, not only will Rhaenyra not burn her own supporters, which she's at the point where she will, but he's like, well, just in case she would, she won't burn kids, will she? And I mean, it's a good strategy, but Damon eventually is like, fuck this, and decides, I've had enough of this crap. He brings Caraxes into the fight. They burn through Tumbleton's gates, and at that point, everything descends into chaos. Luckily, most of the kids got away. A couple of them didn't. Deej, let me go to you first on this opening kind of battle that's happening here at Tumbleton with Ormond's great strategic move that works up to the point that Damon finally says, I've had enough of this bullshit. Caraxes, Dracarys, and off and running to the races we go.
Yeah, Ormond's such a son of a bitch, but he's a great strategist. And he's been one step ahead of Rhaenyra the entire time because he knows that because, she still, at least in his head, pulls the strings, doesn't have the stomach for war. and she doesn't have the stomach to do what it would take to get him out of there. Damon does, and Damon, executes said plan in his own vision, and to catastrophic results here, just absolutely catastrophic. There is collateral damage, unfortunately, and the look of shock on Orman's face when he, excuse me, when he finally realizes, wait a minute, this didn't work, is brilliant. It's right. Like, we may actually have to fight now.
Yeah, the gamble that he put all of his chips on the table. I'm betting everything on black 30, whatever the number is, and it comes up red. But literally comes up red. Tony, your thoughts on Orman? Sound military strategy at the outset of this battle, but I don't think he counted on Damon going full Damon, which he does.
Let's get to the next couple parts. They're better.
Okay.
There's not much else to say. There's not much else to say about the beginning, right? Damon gets everybody fired up. They can't get the gate open, so he's had enough. He's going to go, and he's going to handle it himself. We do see a kid get fucking axed right across the face. I'm leaving all the good stuff out for you to cover.
Thanks. It's like we're reviewing a dark match on King of the Ring 95 or something. I have no comment.
Dave, tell us how the kids died. That's your job.
There's two great epic lines in this episode, and you're about to get to one of them. And then I have a kind of a funny thing I want to do for something else that's about to happen here. So go ahead.
Well, tell me the epic line. I want to make sure. One of the things that becomes apparent in this.
Fucking from the north when he sticks that knife right up Orman's ass, right?
Yeah, right. That is a poetic death for Orman, with a sword up the ass and dragon fire. But before we get to that iconic scene, you do have Damon basically ordering this no mercy, right? We don't want no prisoners. Kill everybody. Kill them all. Let God sort them out. That is Damon's marching orders. We're not taking prisoners, probably because they can't afford to feed him anyway because there's no gold. And when he does this, especially when that gate swings open and we turn into full on just this fight in the streets, right? It's no longer this neat military confrontation with dragons anymore. And there's so much in this episode that reminded me of what was it? Episode 7 of the original final season of the original series, right?
Well, when
Jon Snow's,
Go ahead.
No, like when Jon Snow's walking through, where is it? King's Landing, right? At the end of, and it looks like a nuclear bomb has gone off, and Jon's wandering through there in a daze, looking at just the ruin of what Daenerys has done. There's a similar throwback in this episode that happens to Damon later on, but I couldn't help but notice the striking similarity between Tumbleton and King's Landing, 200 years separated apart, because Damon experiences the same sort of devastation and kind of looking around before he's eventually grabbed out of there and say, hey, this is done. I just thought, Damon steps into the role of Jon Snow, or maybe Jon Snow stepped into Damon's role, however you want to cut it. But in this fight that breaks loose, it's not about the dragons. It's nothing neat. There's no great, it's nothing like the military. It's just brutal street to street fighting, slaughter. Civilians are caught in the middle of this thing. Homes get invaded and everybody's dying. Men, women, children. It doesn't matter. They're all dying in this thing. Kat, Hugh the Hammer's wife, during the assault, she gets seized amid all this house to house violence. We assume she's dead, but we don't know for sure. And I would not be surprised to learn that she has survived this. And of course, this becomes really important when you look at the whole aspect of Hugh and Ulf in this episode and what Ulf eventually does. Hugh has been kind of questioning Rhaenyra's rule as well. And now, because of this whole situation with Daemon, we're presuming his wife is killed. What does that do for Hugh's loyalty moving into season 4? Because like Tony did say at the beginning of this episode, lots of dragons are going to die in season 4. Unfortunately, there's no way to avoid that. But does this further swing the balance of power? So I don't know, either of you jump on in here and talk about how when this battle devolves, it devolves quickly into a massacre.
Let,
And,
let me do this.
go
Let
ahead.
me do this real quick, and then DJ can go before I forget. But he likes his dragon, but he loves the bar. Sometimes he doesn't wake up for war.
Has anybody got a tomato?
Oh, and then you hear, oh.
Ugh. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ulf and Hugh, because remember, Ulf ultimately got won over by the high towers. He turns on Rhaenyra, he turns on everybody. And then he ultimately turns on Ormond. So he's kind of at the end of the episode, it leaves it ambiguous, but it's very obvious. He got tired of being abused by Rhaenyra. Ormond abuses him towards right before the battle starts. So he's like, okay, yeah, fuck that guy too. So now he's just kind of.
To be fair, he was fucking passed out drunk when he was the main component of the battle.
On the shitter. Passed out drunk on the shitter.
I mean, yeah. How apropos for Ormond to have to discover that, right?
Right.
with his sensitivities such that they may be, right? So
we'll see what happens with those guys in episode 4. I expect whatever happens with those particular dragon riders, that will be a pivotal story in season 4.
Yeah, the dragon riders. And you think about, Bela in this episode finally gets the balls to stand up to her. Lots of people stand up to Rhaenyra in this episode are finally been holding their tongues for this whole season. And Bela basically comes out and says, fucking your fault that Jace died, not mine. You're the shit. You go, girl. But it's stuff that Rhaenyra needed to hear because everybody's been so busy kissing her ass this season. And that's not what she needed, because that was not helping her move forward as far as her reign was. The only one who was on the level with her the whole season, Daemon. The only one, you still got to kill Darren, saying it as he's walking out the door and shit like that. It just, yeah.
You still got to kill Darren.
No, that's right. See, Tony's got it down. Lee's got something here about the battle. Smart and dumb move on Ormond's part when facing Northmen. Kids can't do much. That's true. Militarily, a smart move on Ormond's part. For the longevity of the battle, probably not so much. But again, it is the ultimate gamble. I am gambling that she will not do this. And guess what? You were wrong. And everything kind of devolves from there. And off we go, literally to the races. Daron, we just talked about, you still got to kill Daron. He's in such a bad spot in this episode because he's trying to make peace. He's attempting, him and Gwaine are trying to negotiate this whole thing. When before the battle starts, they bring out Corlys and they come up with this great sort of, I don't know if it's a great offer. Sounds good on paper, right? Hey, look, you guys take all of this stuff over here and just leave Daron with Tumbleton, right? It's like, do you remember the original Superman movie from 1978 where they go in there and Lex Luthor, they've got the thing over there, which is like the overlay on the San Andreas Fault showing where once the fault breaks, all these towns that Lex Luthor is going to, Luthersville and all this stuff. And then there's this little tiny town called Otisburg, right? That's what this reminded me of. Otisburg. This reminded me that Daron was going to take over Otisburg, right? And Rhaenyra was going to have the rest of California. I'm here for
Otisburg.
Otisburg. It's this little team. Miss Tatsbacher has her own town over here. Otisburg.
It was also presented as being like the Wardens of the South, as the Starks are Wardens of the North. So
right.
It was smart as far as Daron goes. Like, he knows what's about to happen.
Yeah. No, Daron knows it. And Gwaine, to his credit, is trying to convince Daron, don't jump blindly into this battle. He's got Tessarion. Tessarion's the name of his dragon, right?
Yeah, I think so. Do you have a dragon? Just leave.
Yeah, Tessarion is way too small to be in this type of a fight right now. He needs to grow up a little bbit more. Of course, he's kept in that fucking room, so how big can he really get? But yeah, Daron wants to charge into battle because he wants to die a hero. And Gwaine, of course, has just heard Cole say the same stupid shit, and so he's like, no, That's not going to happen with you. I already saw what this did to Cole. So I'm not going to let you do that. But Damon wants nothing to do with this offer of peace. And, Corliss tries to reason with him a little bit, but they just take Corliss and say, now we're going to attack you guys. Come with me, Sea Snake. And off they go. So, um, you know, maybe had this been presented to Rhaenyra or Daemon earlier in the season, you might have had a chance of negotiating something, but not here. At this moment, you're wasting your time. Everybody's committed to war. No, I mean, and Daeron's fate after the battle is kind of left uncertain. I don't know. Do we see what happens to him, or I think doesn't Gwaine find him or something? I don't completely remember. Go ahead, guys.
Gwaine's alive. I don't know that we see Daron or not. Go ahead, DJ. I'll effort that exact thing. The only other thing I wanted to add is that Tessarion is probably one of the most beautiful dragons, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful color.
I can imagine they get more, scarred and scaled with war as they get older, but just a very pretty looking dragon.
Yeah. I was going to say that even if they had presented this, hey, let him have Tumbletown to Rhaenyra, it wasn't going to work because you got to remember, Ormond's goal was not Tumbletown. He's grooming Daeron to sit on the throne. His goal was to put the High Towers on the Iron Throne. So yeah, he was never going to settle for Tumbletown.
Here's the thing, too. Like at some point, Ormond finds out that Daron made this offer and
right
has
as the fight starts.
Yeah, it has this look of extreme disappointment, and I only bring it up because I truly think he believed in Daron. Like, as much as he was the way he was, he really wanted it for him, and I think he truly felt betrayed. Like, I think he was legit in how he ended up showing him the coin after he lost that game to him. Like, I think he was legit mad at him for like not stepping up saying I won, right? Because he wanted him to be the person. Just to add to the fact of what you're saying, Ormond wanted the High Towers to be in power. Period.
Ormond wants Daeron to want it as much as he does.
Right.
And there's a certain level of naivete about Ormond in this whole situation, right? Where he, like you're saying, he wanted him to want it as much as he did and thought that because he'd raised him for all these years that he was going to get that out of him. But Daeron really didn't want any part of that whole thing.
So at the end, Gwaine is searching for Daeron, and we don't. It's pretty ambiguous, but he's not dead. We haven't opened the box up yet.
That's true. We have not opened the box.
Schrodinger's cat is still alive.
Schrodinger's cat. Wow, we are really like bringing in all. We're pulling in all this shit from these different shows. Schrodinger's cat is still alive. There's some quantum entanglement going on with. Yeah, I like it, Tunney. I'm digging it, man. Crazy stuff.
It's like the chair shot multiverse.
Who thought we could bring an unidentified history in quantum physics into an episode of House of the Dragon? But so we talked about Ulf. Let's get into Ulf a little bit because when you
remember Herm? You remember Herm from Invincible, Dave? Herm. The episode was Herm. Yes. Now let's say with Ulf.
That motherfucker. Ulf.
He's gonna get worse than killed with a fucking knife up the ass. He's gonna get burnt by eaten by his own dragon. I bet you.
You predicted that last week. I was waiting for it to happen this week. It doesn't happen. But Ulf basically, so he cuts the deal with Ormond. He's partying down in Tumbleton, and partying a little bit too much. And as we said, when he's eventually discovered by Ormond, he's drunk, passed out on the shitter. And then you get this big moment where once Ormond gets past his gag reflex, right, he's able to replicate exactly what Daemon did to Ulf that turned Ulf to Ormond's side. Ormond does the exact same thing and beats the shit out of him in front of everybody, embarrasses Ulf and all this sort of stuff. So, I think in a way, Ulf being drunk, passed out on the toilet is poetic. But at the end of the day, like Tunney, you were alluding to, Ulf just betrays everybody. It's equal opportunity betrayal at the end of this thing. He does what he was supposed to do. He turns the tide of the battle. What I couldn't figure out is when Ulf starts burning down all of Rhaenyra's forces, what is Caraxes doing? Is he just sitting there going, damn, that looks fucked up? You would think like, but he doesn't have his dragon rider, so he doesn't really have it, and he's a different sort of dragon. Sheepstealer would have jumped in there, but Caraxus is probably like, where's my master? What the fuck is going on here? So once Silverwing is in the air, Ulf basically, he turns into his own faction at that point. He is a double agent at this point. He's out for himself.
Ulf
Nobody is safe.
W.O.
Ulf, the UWO, exactly. The
Ulf World Order.
Because I mean, he burns blacks, he burns the high towers. He's, I mean, this whole red sowing that Rhaenyra did in season 2. This is the ultimate ramification of it. With you gave a drunkard a nuclear bomb. You gave the kids all the matches, and here's what happens to you. And yeah, the whole scene just comes crashing down, and it leads right into this big fight between Roddy and Ormond. They're throwing down with each other. It's a big time brawl, and Ormond is actually like, this is like one of the fight's most brutal sequences. I mean, one of the more brutal fight. There's 2 really brutal fights in here. Ormond cuts off Roderick's arm. Roddy's like, fuck it. And he just keeps fighting anyway. He fatally stabs Ormond in the ass, as we noted, just as Ulf decides to say,
up the ass.
Up the ass. Up the ass, yes. Because what does he say, Tony?
The ass would have been maybe like a cheek or something. Up the ass is just like, yeah, this is a proper fucking
right up the.
This is how you get fucked by
like
the North.
Phase, like a flash phase it right up.
Yeah, and Ulf decides, and he says, "Fuck you too," to Ormond. And I love the juxtaposition of these 2 guys at the very moment of their death, right? Ormond is just crying like a bitch. Now he does have a knife up his ass. So, I mean, that's one problem. But Roddy, on the other hand, just like, yeah, bring it. This is like his glorious Valhalla moment. It's such a cool moment. I mean, it's tragic, yes, but the fact of it, the matter is, you get this big moment with the whole burning of everything and everybody. But Deej, let me go to you first. This whole Ulf's betrayal, out for his own, playing both sides of the fence. And he's really, like Tony says, he is the UWO at this point. He's just in it for himself. And
Ulf World Order.
Ulf World Order. Yeah, I dig it. I dig it, man. Go ahead.
Nobody
Deej.
to blame here for this but Rhaenyra.
That's right.
Rhaenyra treated him the way she treated him. He thought he was going to at least get a decent place to live. She said, no, you go hang out on the hill and guard the city. He's like, well, can I come in and at least have a beer once in a while? No, you can go hang out on the hill and guard the city. No drinks, no fun, no whoring around. And
that was the part of the decision, though, DJ. Sorry.
No, but it pissed him off. That's how it made him easy pickings for Ormond.
Look what happens when Ormond lets him have a drink, though. Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
Yeah, but still, if Rhaenyra had just let him have AJ, you got to let him moderate. If you let him have a couple of drinks, but keep him give him a chaperone. Whereas fucking Ormond's an idiot. He's like, yeah, go whore and drink and do whatever you want to do and whatever. It's have fun, pal. Just do what I need you to do. Well, that's when he went out of control and ended up on the shitter.
Not good.
All Rhaenyra's fault. She should have treated him a little better, let him have a drink here and there. He would have totally stayed with her.
Daemon didn't help either. Slapping the shit out of him, bitch slapping him in the street wasn't a good move.
Daemon was tired of putting up with his shit.
Yeah, ultimately, Ulf is just a putz, right? But
he is.
Interesting enough, though, Dave, you brought it up earlier how Daemon was kind of embattled in this battle, for lack of a better term, like Jon Snow was, and you had this intricate kind of concussionary kind of visual media consumption experience, right? I felt the same way once the dragons started attacking Tumbleton that Arya Stark experienced when Khaleesi unleashed. Like, you kind of move forward in that same spot, right? And you kind of get that same concussionary ashes and burning debris, and it's
slow motion and everything.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is I've talked a lot about how, like kind of like how powerful each of these warriors are individually as knights and as generals and things of that nature. Whoever that Ormond or whoever that Hightower warrior was that basically had Damon dead to
Be
rights before
be
the shit went down. I mean, whoever that guy is, throw him up on the top of the list too. But Damon survives for reasons, right? And it's the belief that they have. We talked about it before with, and we're probably about to talk about it after this with the speech that Rhaenyra is going to give. They believe they're chosen. They're the blood. They're the dragons, controllers, and they should be in power. But a lot of interesting similarities, like you said. It's the first thing I thought of when you said that. I wanted to bring that up, bring it up here.
Yeah, it feel the battle of King's Landing at the end of the original series and this battle, sure, a lot of striking similarities. And like you're saying, the concussive force, everything kind of slowing down. Um, Damon kind of taking the role of Jon Snow and Arya Stark in this episode, and I think that's a really good place to kind of segue into just kind of like Damon does get in this big fight with whoever that warrior is for the Hightower warrior. Who I agree with you, Tony. Damon got his ass whooped. It's a good fight for a while, but Damon gets his ass whooped at the end of this whole thing. Um, and yeah, when Damon he sees what fire and blood, I mean, that's what the actual book is called, Fire and Blood, right? And he gets to see what that means at the end of this episode because it's just devastation, and it is so much like the whole Jon Snow thing because he sees the same stuff, right? Civilians carrying bodies, children fleeing burned homes, people just charred to a crisp from dragon fire. Um, and it's like, I don't know, man. In this moment, Damon, who has such a bloodlust in this entire series, right? He has this entire series, this whole season, especially. He's been fiending for this bloodlust. But in this moment, I don't know what you guys thought. He doesn't look excited by what he's seeing. He kind of looks horrified by everything that's going on around him. And he gets to see what all this fire and blood means. And it's like, oh my God, this is truly horrifying. Luckily, Corlys is the one who finds Damon, tells him the battle is lost. Ulf has betrayed us. We need to retreat. And this is a major turning point, possibly, for Damon going into season 4. Because Damon has been going around this entire season talking about we have dragons, let's use them. And here Damon uses it, but he's standing inside the result of what happens when that power is used against you. So he sees firsthand the power of these weapons of mass destruction, these nuclear bombs, like Lee was saying earlier. He sees it firsthand. This is like being in Hiroshima or Nagasaki after the bomb has gone off. Tony, I'll go to you first. What kind of long-term impact might this have on Damon going into season 4, seeing up close and personal the devastation of these immense weapons?
He gets to see it from the ground. He's seen it from the air. He's seen it before. He's just not seen it from the perspective that he's seen it from, right? He's used to being the one doing the burning. Now he's witnessing it from the tragedy and the death of everything, right? We talked about their nuclear weapons, right? Especially in this time and day. But moving forward, I don't know. I mean, I guess he could be a little bit more measured, but I mean, isn't he just measured enough to be Damon? Maybe that'll be a bad thing, right? Maybe that'll be his demise too.
It goes against his inner workings to be more measured and more calculating because he's very
Outside of,
impulsive.
yeah, outside of like his daughters, which we found out, right? Like he's
Right, right.
very, protective that way.
I want to go back a couple things like Lee was saying. Roderick's arm getting cut off is in the book, so that's cool. So that's one place that they honored the book. I like that.
There's a social media post out there with the two actors in that scene, Ormond and the guy who sticks the knife up.
Roddy,
Yeah, and the great part about it is that it's a photo from the shoot, and they're both smiling, and the one guy standing there with like instead of the green, it's blue. His one arm is all wrapped in blue, so you can't see it, right? So you know what scene they're
nice.
shooting. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you and Lee came up with the name of the guy, Sir John Roxton. epic fight. And Lee brings up a good point here. Damon showing his age. Damon is not as young as Springtime anymore. I mean, and this guy is significantly younger. And then Tunney, I think you posted up here, PC Tunney, Sir John Roxton, trusted high tower fighter. Do you smell what the Roxton was cooking? Apparently Damon did, but good stuff all the way around. But yeah, that guy's a badass. Was he on the list? If he should have been on the list.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that list.
And he also survived that fight because they got separated by the balcony collapsing and fire between the two of them.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, that's why Ormond could never beat The Rock, because he could always smell what The Rock is cooking, and he's kind of got that issue with his olfactory sense.
Do you know what happens when you beat Daemon Targaryen's ass in a fight, Tunney? Do you know what happens when you embarrass him? That's right. Sir John Roxton, you just made the list. DJ, go ahead, man. Talk about, what do you think this means for Daemon moving forward?
I think it means not just something for Daemon, but for him and Rhaenyra, because remember, the other thing he's realizing is she was right. This is everything that she was afraid was going to happen, happened. And at the end of the day, I was wrong. And that's got to be humbling for him. Because remember, the last thing she told him was, the crown is looking at us, don't make a mess of this. And he went in and he made a mess of it. And for seven episodes, she's been trying to avoid this, and he's been pushing for it, thinking he can control it. We get to this point, and he didn't control anything. And everything that she feared was going to happen, happened, and he's very aware of that in this moment. It's not just that he's horrified by what he sees, it's the realization that, fuck, she was right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like you're saying, Deej, that's a bitter pill for somebody to swallow, man, to come in there and say, yeah, she was right. Because, I mean, Damon's got the ego. He's definitely got an ego to him. And, yeah, I think you're right about that. We got somebody new in here.
Good point. We brought that up before, yeah.
Yeah, this Trudeau color. Hey, thank you for tuning in and joining the chat. If Silverwing wouldn't have burned the bridge over them, I don't know if Daemon would have survived. I don't think so.
Good call.
Yeah, I think that's what we're
on the ropes.
Yeah, maybe should have said Ulf, not Silverwing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but we get it. It's all Ulf's fault. Yeah, we're not going to blame Silverwing. He's the innocent dragon.
It's Rhaenyra's fault.
It's Rhaenyra's fault.
Doesn't wake up for war.
It's Rhaenyra's fault. But no, if that balcony doesn't come down, I don't think Daemon survives that battle because he was not looking good at all.
He was getting Roxtoned.
He was getting Roxton. Yeah, the people's elbow and other body parts were being laid on his candy ass. And we've covered
Mason
We've covered so much ground on this episode, and there's still more to talk about, which is the amazing part of this episode. Let's go back to the beginning of the episode. I mean, and it's easy to kind of get lost in the battle, but you got to talk about Aegon and Aemon, because talk about a role reversal in a matter of moments here. Aemon survives. And as he comes out of this stupor that he's in, where, his mother's poisoned him and tried to kill him, and Alice saves him, he hears a dragon. And naturally, he's thinking the same thing that I'm kind of thinking at this point. Vhagar has returned. And instead, it's an absolute impossibility that he witnesses. Aegon comes in Sunfire, lands right in the middle of Harrenhal. Aemon thought they were both dead. And Aegon, who was, up until the return of Sunfire, has never been the most assertive guy in the world, comes in and just slaps the shit out of his brother and gets all over his brother. And I mean, and his brother is just like stunned to the point of he's just conceding his death at this point. And it's like, and I think there's part of him that he just wants to die. He kneels, he asks Aegon for forgiveness. Aegon doesn't, Aegon is looking for a fight when he shows up. He is feeling himself. He's got Sunfire. He wants this fight. He has not forgotten what Aemon tried to do to him. Aemon just is a beaten man at this point, and he's begging for forgiveness. Aegon doesn't forgive him. When Aemon refuses to fight, Aegon says, "We are going to find Vhagar. You're going to help me reclaim my throne." And once Rhaenyra is defeated, then Aegon says, "Then I'll consider settling the score. Then you might have my forgiveness. Then you have my permission to die." There's a lot of Bane called back in this episode. This is one of the more weird alliances that we're going to get in season 4 because these two guys despise each other. Maybe they can mend that relationship. Certainly at this point in time, they hate each other, but they might just need each other before this is all said and done. Deej, let me go to you first. We'll kill each other later. First, we got to kill everyone else. That is a good way. I was just reading that somewhere else. It's like, yeah, it's like, another wrestling analogy. Let's get rid of everybody else and bring it down just to us two, and then we'll settle this amongst ourselves. But go ahead, Deej.
Brings
Aemond
it down
and Aegon.
to the classic "can they coexist" tag team trope.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an uneasy alliance for sure, but it's an alliance out of necessity right now. So look, right now there are bigger fish to fry. We need each other. We'll figure our stuff out after it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. At this point, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And
Yep.
and that's where we are right now. This is a alliance of necessity, and these two, and I think like our new friend Distro Color is saying here, Aegon needs Aemond and Vhagar's help now, so she's not loosing all his anger on him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Vhagar is still that X factor. You're talking the biggest dragon in the realm, who's just out there. No one knows where she is, and she's a game changer of a dragon, and no one knows what's going on. Where is she? Why did she leave Aemond? There's a lot of things to consider as far as Vhagar is concerned. But yeah, that is a dragon that can certainly turn the tide of everything, depending on if she returns to the fold. But go ahead, Tony. This relationship between Aegon and Aemond is certainly a strange one as we have evolved this season.
Here's the second epic line. "I'm alive, imbecile."
Yes.
I popped so hard for that. And the plan, basically after going through all that angst and not being able to get his comeuppance and retribution and wanting the fight that he wanted not being given to him, and Eamon just kind of being like, holy shit, he had already felt bad. So it's interesting though to see, will he continue to be contrite and will he hold that position regardless of how Aegon acts moving forward? But the plan immediately in the immediate future was to find Vhagar and then go find Daron, that twat, and show him what's what. So my prediction next season will once Aemond and Aegon and their dragons meet the Hightower army and Gwaine and Daron, I think it will be pleasantly surprisingly for Aegon how much Daron is happy to see Aegon. I don't think he thinks that's going to be the way it is, but I think from everything we've heard from Daron, he doesn't want to be king. He wants things to be peaceful, and he'll be happy to just have more protection, and things of that nature, because that's kind of what I'm looking for. But this is so interesting. He's also disgusted that Alice is with his brother, much like his mother. So that's another interesting part in play there.
Another brother's mother. Yeah.
You mother lover.
Here's a good question. Here's a good question from from Distro Color, and I'm glad this is being asked because I was just going to get into Alice. Did Alice Rivers make Vhagar go away somehow? We get some interesting stuff about Alice in it because we don't. Her story and her whoever she is gets a little bit weirder. And now, Tony, I'm starting to wonder about Melisandre, the Red Woman from the original series. And it's like, wait a second.
Do you remember those green men with the horns that guard the face of the Isle of Faces with the children? Yeah. They're sworn to protect the earth from the children. That's who she brought her kid to. That's who she brought her kid to, and they couldn't save. And that's when that's what that whole story was about. That's why we've seen that person in this season.
Yeah, she's the widow of some king or something.
Well, we learn for sure in this story that she tells Aemond that Alice is she's not really like, you kind of think she's some eccentric healer, a quasi witch of the woods. this suggests the story she tells us she is far older than she appears, maybe centuries old when this story is done. And I mean, and I get what you're saying, Tony. It's not Melisandre, it's not the red-haired witch,
I mean,
but it's the same. It's the same power that she had, right? That ability to outlive. Go ahead.
If it is, it's two problems, right? One would be, okay, that's not the way the book is. Okay, fine, that's not the way a lot of things are. But two, where's the necklace?
Right. Right. No, I don't think it's her, but somebody who has the same power set or pulling from the same sort of mysticism of Westeros. That seems to be on the table because you've got somebody else who looks very young but is probably several hundred years old. And I do like the fact that the show kind of leaves that ambiguous and up to your own interpretation. So we know something supernatural is going on. We know that this is something, and I know it's not her, Tony. I'm not suggesting it's Melisandre, but I'm saying it's the same sort of concept, right? You get what I'm saying? She's pulling from the same old magic that Melisandre is pulling from. Now, yeah, where's the necklace? Does she have some other trinket on her that allows her to, live for centuries? And the whole aspect of who owns Harrenhal. There's been this sort of slow fight going on as far as Harrenhal is concerned. So does anybody own it, or does Harrenhal own whoever enters it? Right? I mean, is Harrenhal an entity unto itself?
The Freys are about to show up there, aren't they?
Probably. Well, yeah, she's on her way because doesn't Rhaenyra send her away in the last episode?
Yep.
So, Deej, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I have this one's the head scratcher for me because, like I said, Tony was onto something with that, and I was leaning into that. But yeah, again, you bring up a good point. Where's the necklace? Like if this really is her, or if she's whether it's a tribe of people that have access to whatever this power is. It's hopefully we get some answers on this because this is the one sticking point this season that's got me. It's like, okay, they're implying that she's somebody important. Who the hell is she?
That's an interesting question. I mean, that's going to be the interesting question. And Aemon Kingslayer, no longer. Yeah, it's looking up for Aemon, probably. As this whole thing moves and sorts itself out next season. Yeah, I think Aemon will eventually come out of this, snap out of this sort of doldrum he's in, and find himself and turn into the lovely prick that we all know and love from the last season, and from when he shows up at Harrenhal and just cuts everybody down. It says, you're all dying.
You're right with the old magic, and the children of the forest is the main reference there. That from the whole death that we're talking about, and that's kind of the deal that they made with the men, with the green men with the horns to protect, the land and everything from the Isle of Faces. Just to specify.
We'll see. I mean,
but it is old magic. It is old magic.
It is old magic. It is the oldest magic that's going on out there. Yeah, who I like this, and we talked about this too. Whose turn is it to have strange dreams and visions at Harrenhal next season? I don't know, man. Maybe it's the Frey chick. She's going to show up with her Arby Tutty, and she's going to have weird visions, and I don't know, man. But everybody who goes there, it's like an acid trip. That's very personalized to you.
Maybe Duncan. Maybe you don't get that again until Dunk and Egg show up there or something.
Well, Dunk and Egg show up at Harrenhal. Now that would be an interesting trip.
That would be great.
That would be great. That would be awesome if they show up at Harrenhal and Alice is still there.
on a special Halloween episode of Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
That's right. It's the crossover. We're bringing everybody back for one episode. That'd be fun. We need something like that, like the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
What was the where did Khaleesi get her dragons taken from her? That was kind of a spooky place too. If you guys are out there in the chat, in Game of Thrones, Khaleesi got her small young dragons taken from her. Where were they?
Is that like that one city, right? Like the ayahuasca retreat. It's like the ayahuasca retreat of Westeros. That's right. Let's do some.
Was that in Dorne?
It wasn't Dorne. It was that one city that she's in. I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember the name of
And
it. But
the one merchant trader offered her all the gold and everything, and she
Yes.
I wonder if like if you do DMT, do you go to Harrenhal, and that's why everybody thinks it's aliens and shit. I don't know.
LSD.
Maybe
What?
DMT.
I think
Both.
since we've got
Neither.
several months to go, I may rewatch everything in preparation for Night of the Seven Kingdoms season 2.
Yeah, the House of the Undying. I don't know
Yes,
if it was
that
that.
is
It was.
that
Is
was
that it?
where it happened, but that's not the name of the city. What was the name of the
Right.
city? Because it was the House of the Undying, because it was that one like gray, old, dying looking dude who turned into like 50 dudes.
We're gonna have to go back to like episode 1 of Game Gone Wrong, where we recap the first 7 seasons of Game of Thrones and say, what was that?
You know what's funny is I got a couple friends who like never watched any of the Game of Thrones and are wanting to at some point. I'm like, well, wait until all 3 of these series are over and then start with House of the Dragon.
And watch it
Yeah.
chronologically.
Go watching chronology, because I know I am. Once these 3 series are over, I'm going to start and watch everything beginning to end. And by that
Well, I
time,
mean,
they'll probably
right.
put something before and after it, right?
Right. Sure. Hopefully they were going west of Westeros one of these days.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
I want.
One of these days. Let's talk about Rhaenyra and the Faith, because we drew the comparison a couple episodes ago about, this guy, the High Septon at the Faith, and kind of the similarities between the High Sparrow in the original Game of Thrones series. You know, the one who imprisoned Cersei and did all that terrible shit to her, and then eventually got his ass blown apart with green fire and that sort of thing. So Rhaenyra shows that, unlike Cersei, well, no, I take that back. Huh?
They have Game of Thrones universe, a lot of travesty.
Yeah, there is a lot of travesty. That's very true, Tony. That's very true. But in this moment, Rhaenyra, who we talked about at the outset, how she kind of crumbles when she realizes that Aegon, she unravels and realizes Aegon and Sunfire are alive. So she thinks, God damn it, I'm going to make this prophecy happen if it's the last thing I fucking do. So she goes and says, the High Septon is going to anoint me. The Faith is going to recognize me, or else you're going to kill his ass, Alan. And of course, this goes predictably bad when Rhaenyra says, anoint me, make the prophecy full. And the High Septon is still like, nope. And she says, that's fine. Alan, take him out. And this High Septon is trying to reason with Alan at this point, saying, if you do this, you'll be damned to hell. This is the house of God, blah, blah, all this kind of shit, right? Alan hesitates for a moment, but then Alan's character progression reaches a critical point in this season as well, because by killing the High Septon, that is a major transition for this kind of meek character who's, well, not meek, but soft-spoken up to a point. But that really changes in this moment. When he kills the High Septon, all bets are off for Alan. And, and you wonder about the ramifications for this one, right? I mean, the High Septon telling Rhaenyra when he wouldn't anoint her earlier, you do not want to make an enemy of the Faith, and the thing is, armies come and go and can be defeated by Dragonfire, but defeating religion, if history has told us one thing, that's a lot harder to do. And Rhaenyra just made it an enemy of the Faith in this moment. Yeah, I mean, it is the ultimate sign of Rhaenyra's insecurity and her own rule in this prophecy. It's like, I'm trying to make this prophecy happen, which of course is not how prophecies work, right, DJ?
Right. You also got to remember there was an interaction between Alan and his brother earlier on, where his brother started to question Rhaenyra's motives and what's going on around here.
And his brother's motives.
His brother's motives. Yeah, they have a very heated kind of discussion here. And so now there's not a full separation here, but there's a conflict of ideologies between the two of them. And then you've also got Corlys out there, who, once he was handed over to Daemon kind of treated him like he basically accused him of treason. So, you've got Corlys, who's already at odds with Rhaenyra. You've got the brother who's at odds with Rhaenyra. And then you've got Alan, who is very much, and once he basically commits murder for Rhaenyra, he has chosen his side. That's going to have huge ramifications going into season 4 because now there's a family divided here.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Distro Color came up with the answer, Tony. Karth in
Karth.
Essos.
Okay.
That's
Thank you
Oh,
for
right.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, I would pay you, but these guys are interns anyway, so
like Distrito color.
sorry. Yeah,
Distrito.
Dave
Distrito
Um,
pays
color.
me an alcohol, which I buy.
appreciate.
Yeah,
Oh, hey,
it's an ingenious compensation
for that
system.
deal. Um, no, it's funny. You talk about Alan like doing the things he does and kind of the character arc, and DJ kind of hit half of the point I wanted to make. Like, yes, his brother challenging him like that made him, say I'm doing it for duty, and he fully believed that, not to make himself higher up, right? Also, I think the other thing that kind of makes him a little more bold is his recent like tryst with Bela, right? And that's the reason
Mhm.
why Adam probably gives him shit too, because he realizes that he doesn't have a chance with Bela anymore because of Alan. Um, it's
Yeah.
it's insane how much Rhaenyra talks about, having favor of the gods and its destiny. So why do the gods hate me? And then what does she do? It is go ahead and take away the only human symbol of the gods and the people that run, the place of worship. So it's it's tough. It's tough to come back to that question to continue to root for Rhaenyra. It
Well,
really, really is.
and to echo your point, Lee put this in there. The Rhaenyra's mindset. I want the small folk on my side, so I'll kill the High Septon, even though the High Septon is the equivalent of the
You
Pope,
know,
right?
and we didn't even mention the fact that she brings Joffrey with her, her son, her youngest son,
Yes,
who's
to
her heir,
witness all
right?
this. To
They're
witness
like,
all this.
dude, well, it's just me and you now. Let me go ahead and put these red, slits through my eyes as makeup as well, so I look even more kind of intimidating and holy-ish, kind of hellish, maybe. But the
Yeah.
kid is like, the cuts to the kid though are amazingly excellent. The emotion are kind of what you would think the emotion was is very kind of quiet and like taking everything in towards the end. I kind of almost look at one of the last shots of the kid like understanding what's going on at such a young age, and that's
Yeah.
very, very weird.
Let's get to the last thing that I think we probably, because we've covered everything else. We've talked about Allison and the things that are going to go on with her in season 4, and everybody around her is now gone. But the speech right after the execution that Rhaenyra delivers, I think this is a good place to end this whole thing. And you get to see in this moment the full slide into kind of tyranny. The Targaryen insanity gene is in full effect, and it's also the Targaryen tyrannical gene because you know she starts off by saying that Viserys named her the heir. She publicly invokes a Song of Ice and Fire prophecy. Then she takes this leap of logic that Viserys never had done, and declares that she is the prince that was promised. This is massive, right? Because she has spent this whole series, right, kind of trying to establish the fact that a woman can sit on the throne. And we talked about this when we recapped seasons 1 and 2 at the beginning of this season of House of the Dragon and Game Gone Wrong. And the big thing was a woman can be an heir just as legitimately as a man can. And here at the end of this whole thing, um, she's looked at the prophecy as a responsibility, something that was, beyond her just wanting to personally justify the fact that Viserys was right to name me his heir. Now she's trying to say this is proof of my destiny, and that's not the same thing. And I think by saying I'm the prince that was promised, doesn't she kind of marginalize? And I don't want to get into any sort of gender discussion, that sort of thing, but within the context of this show, isn't she marginalizing her own gender in this moment by saying I'm the prince that was promised? Tunny, what do you think? I mean, does she or does she not do that here?
I I I think she's trying to imply that in context it's like a overall kind of thing where in a lot of languages sometimes there are male and female parts of speech, but when you
Sure.
refer to the overall, some of them end up going to the male part of speech. um Like the prince that was promised is Jon Snow. It's not even close because we're talking about the battle against the Night King, basically here, right? So, like, obviously, you could argue it's
But you got
Daenerys
to
as
suspend your
well, but
disbelief for 200
but
years.
so but so here's the thing too. When Viserys told this to Rhaenyra, did he not give her the knife also and tell her not to tell anybody else but her heir? Like she completely violates the being
Well,
gifted of this story and spreads it to the people.
to your point, our new friend here, I wasn't expecting Rhaenyra to deliver the prophecy publicly.
Neither
Exactly. I
was
mean,
I.
this was supposed to be something between her and her father. Something between that Rhaenyra kept to herself. And then this whole thing. This is what we're talking about. She is trying so hard to force this prophecy into existence because she doesn't believe in her own heart that she's the prophesized one. So she's trying to reverse engineer this prophecy around her rather than the prophecy standing on its own merits and what it actually means. And by delivering this publicly, she's trying to breathe that into an existence, try to invoke that into existence. And that's just, as we've said several times on this episode, that is not how prophecies work, right, Deej?
Yeah, she's trying. She's obviously trying to manifest it here. She
Yes.
realizes where she's at. She realizes she has no legitimate claim to the throne at this point. But in her head, in that crazy Targaryen mind, if I manifest it, it'll be true.
She does have legitimate claim to the throne, though.
She does. But in her mind, because that Targaryen insanity gene is now kicking in,
No, but
she's
like
questioning
overall,
everything.
the truth of the story being told on HBO for House of the Dragon, Viserys named her, and
Yeah.
Alicent mistakenly took wrongly what was said in a dream while he was dying, right? So Rhaenyra is the rightful ruler in this story. Am I not right?
In his
Technically,
words, but in the eyes of the church and the eyes of the
sure, it's Aegon.
tradition,
It's Aegon.
it's Aegon.
Right. Right.
So
No, I get
yeah,
that. I get that. But I'm
and
saying,
Do
like,
you
unfortunately, because Viserys is gone and nobody but Alicent has his final words as the gospel, they got to go with the church and the
no,
tradition.
no. Right, I get that. But just like specifically though, even with Allison coming out now and talking them having them conversations too, right? Like on a
Right.
technicality. So she's
right?
not wrong in doing so. She's just not capable of figuring out how to get it done.
Well, like to channel some more movies from the 80s, right? Rocky 3, where he's like on the beach with Adrian. When a fighter doesn't believe in himself, it's over. That's it. She doesn't believe in herself anymore. And that's a big problem is she doesn't believe this whole prophecy. And like you're saying, she's trying to manifest herself. And here's another good point. In the Game of Thrones, Missandei explained that the prophecy is in High Valyrian, and if the word is gender neutral, it can be prince or princess that is promised. So that's true. I don't remember. Did Viserys know High Valyrian? I don't remember. He probably did, but
I would imagine. Why wouldn't he?
I would imagine. Yeah, I would think so. He had to have.
That's
But
kind yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of this is just it is
If Damon
that
knows it, I wouldn't, and
well,
Rhaenyra
that's
know it.
true. The brothers probably would have talked about it amongst themselves. But
I think the
yeah,
Targaryens taught to them when they're young, right?
yeah, it's like here's some strained carrots and learn High Valerian. That makes sense to me. So, um,
It's easier than Russian, Dave. It's easier than Russian
or Hungarian, that's for sure. But
or
yeah, I
Mandarin.
think a lot. I think a lot of it comes down to the whole aspect of we talked about at the very beginning of this episode. Aegon's return totally unravels Rhaenyra, and the rest of the episode is her unraveling at an accelerated pace, and it comes to a head here when she declares this prophecy in public when she wasn't supposed to, and and kills the Pope. Basically, I think Lee's right. You basically killed the Pope.
Yeah,
Um,
that was one of
I
the
think
quotes on the post HBO. It's
yes.
like killing the Pope.
Um,
It's a great
I
point
think
to
it is a great point, and I think we've covered everything we can cover on this episode. Have we left out anything? I don't know if we
No,
left
this is
out.
pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. Before we cut out of here, season 4. What are you? One big thing you're expecting from season 4? Since Tony's like just rolling his eyes and has no clue what's going
Well,
on.
like
No, just kidding.
one big thing you're expecting that we're not all expecting. Like if I were to
Well,
be
we
like, what would
know
you expect? Because all the dragons die.
that's the obvious and easy one. Yes, I agree with you. I mean, and that's the saddest part of it. But something else you're looking for in season 4 that maybe isn't so overt? Either of
I'm
you
looking.
guys.
I'll start and give you guys a little time to think about it. I already brought it up. I can't wait for Aegon and Aemon to get with Daron because they already announced their intentions, and like he already called him a twat if I remember
Yeah.
his thinking the same. And I think I really want that trio to become formidable, right? They can teach him how to grow and better handle his dragon, right? Like it would be really rootable for those three brothers to end
Mhm.
up behind Aegon and Aegon actually growing a little bit with what we talked about, right? Like the ventures he had with Laris and Thailand or Tywin?
Thailand. Yeah, where's
Ty
Thailand in
Tywin
all
Ty
this?
Tywin's dead. Tywin survived.
No, no, no. I know that Thailand because Thailand was there when Sunfire
Oh,
returned. We don't see him in this
right.
episode.
I'm sure we'll find out next season.
Yeah.
Then we talk about too how the Lannisters are like one of the wealthiest families around.
Mhm.
I, I think they probably are now, but obviously they had to continue somehow with the winner. I would imagine. Spoiler,
The
maybe.
winners write the history.
I don't know. I'm interested. I can't wait. I haven't read the books. I haven't researched how this all ends up happening, but I can't imagine it's not going to be out without a lot of heartbreak. But these actors are so great; they really are. The last thing I want to say is shout it out before DJ jumps in here is that the casting and the directing and just it's maybe one of the greatest seasons of streaming slash TV in this kind of genre I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
shout out to that. And out of 12 seasons of the Game of Thrones universe, to be, in my opinion, the best one is hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth. It's not easy,
In
kind of
this,
stepping up there.
yeah, you're right. You're right. 12. I was like, I forgot we haven't got to season 2 of Night of the Seven Nine Kingdoms yet. Deej, your thought. What's one thing that's kind of maybe not
Man,
so out there?
I can't think of anything out of the pocket that I think might happen. I'm very, very, very interested to see what happens with Rhaenyra and Allison once Allison gets back. I'm very interested in where that relationship goes, and more importantly, where it ends. Like in the final moments, is there some kind of reconciliation, or what happened? I think right now that's the part that I'm most invested in, and probably second is going to be the relationship between Rhaenyra and Damon, because that's obviously
Yeah.
going to be strained after what happened at Tumbletown.
Oh gosh. Oh god. Yeah. Um, I think for me, and
Dave wants an
yeah,
Ulf spinoff. Sorry.
what?
You want an Ulf spinoff?
No. Ulf needs
Absolutely
to
not.
die. Ulf needs to die pretty quick in
That
season
asshole.
4. Yeah, he needs to die pretty quick in season 4. But I think like I I'm looking forward to Rhaenyra's relationship with somebody else, and I think Allison comes back with some sort of vengeance. I think hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and ain't nobody more scorned than Allison in season 3. And once the full depth of that comes to bear its ugly head, um, Allison might be a problem, especially if she's able to manipulate her sons
Are you
into
saying she?
doing.
Are you saying she makes it to Tumbleton with her sons before she goes
I
back
think
to
they
King's
find
Landing?
her. They find
They
her.
find her.
The sons will find her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But one thing I do, Lee put it up there. Season 4 is going to be quick. A lot of history to get thrown in just one last season. That is one thing I'm concerned about. Is they
I
have
heard it's 8 episodes too.
how many 8?
Yeah, I think so.
They do have a lot of ground to cover in that last season.
Let me ask you this: are they going to run into the same problem that they ran into? What some people perceive was the problem with season 8 of the original Game of Thrones. Is it going to feel rushed? There's a lot to
Mm-hmm.
cram in here in 8 episodes. Are we omitting some things? Are we condensing multiple storylines into maybe one thing?
Yeah,
That'll be an interesting to see how they work through this.
I would love to see them give themselves a little bit of latitude here, a
Some
little bit of
breathing room.
some breathing room and do maybe like a Ted Lasso season 3 where it jumped at like 12 episodes or something, and just because they gave themselves, they made the episodes longer. What's that
8 episodes.
for season 4?
Yep.
Yeah. They could also do
Man.
what they did with Stranger Things. Those final couple of seasons, the last few episodes were basically movies.
There you go. There you go. If you have 8 episodes and they're each 2 hours long, then who cares? It's like
no.
fine. That I'm okay with that.
God, these Game of Thrones wrap-up episodes will be 3 hours long. It'll be like the Conrad show.
I
Be like
know.
bandwagon nerds back in the day.
And yeah, last thing is, we know dragon fights are coming. And
Maybe
yeah,
by the way,
we
tune
feel
into
we
Bandwagon
feel
Nerds
this.
tomorrow. It'll be 3 hours long with D23. Sorry.
Oh, God. No, none of us want to see the dragons get hurt, but unfortunately,
we know how that ends.
It's the bad thing about prequels is how they end. We know Anakin turned into Darth Vader, that sort of thing. So we know the dragons are all going to die, and probably in the word now, how they all die? Do they all die, or do they just disappear into some alternate dimension? Maybe the Force whales come and send them off somewhere. Purgle.
DJ, it's been way too long since Dave did a unidentified history episode. Can you tell?
I said
he's starting to get
I said Force.
He's like, oh, how can I connect this to unidentified history?
Let me just thread
Star
that
Wars.
needle.
There's no UFOs.
Yeah, Helena, put down the embroidery, the cross stitching, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I've kept you guys here long enough. Look, all kidding aside, go ahead, Deej.
We got one question to ask.
What's that?
Oh yeah,
Tony, 7 3/4 episodes later, are you still Team Black?
That is the question.
I can't even answer the question, and it's not out of pride. It's out of I shouldn't want to root for Aegon, but don't you want to root for Aegon, right? Just because of the potential. I think you want to root for the potential. It's funny because I think in the end of that thing, the post show or one of the, I think Condell got interviewed and asked, who would you put on the throne? And he said Allison.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for coming in and playing with us tonight.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we're coming back.
So
we'll let you know when we're coming back.
We'll let you know when we're coming back. Please subscribe to the channel so we can keep you guys abreast of what's happening with the show. But go ahead, Tony. So are you team? You're just team in the middle of the road, huh? What is green and black? What color does that make?
Honestly, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be Team Daron. I'm Team Daron.
I'm Team Dunk. That's where I am right now.
I'm Team Daron. I want him to get back with his brothers. That's who I'm with.
DJ, how about you, man? Or where are you at? I mean, we were all solidly Team Black for the first 2 episodes, and then
man, this is a tough call. Rhaenyra made some bad decisions this episode. Made some bad calls, and it's a feeling very. I'm having a hard time feeling sympathetic for her. Right now, I'm still leaning Team Black, just because some of what's happened to her is not her fault. It's what she's been fed, what she's been told, what she believes is what is informing and forcing her motives right now.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm still kind of leaning Team Black. I'm not all the way in. I got 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you guys. I'm kind of with you, Deej. I mean, I've been solidly on the Black bandwagon, but yeah, when people keep doing stupid shit like that, you start second guessing things. Now, I mean, if Team Green was a little bit better organized, that might motivate me to switch to that side. But I mean, it's a loose alliance of people who despise each other at this point in time. So it's kind of hard
to on that team, and fuck that guy. I hate that dude.
Yeah.
Anymore.
I'm still Team Black, and I like Daron and Gwen. Yeah, there's a lot to like about both sides, and we'll see how this turns out next season. But gentlemen, I want to profusely thank you for being a part of Game Gone Wrong and what ended up, ironically enough, being our 3rd season of Game Gone Wrong. We will go on our hiatus now. I mean, that's it for now. There's nothing to cover until next year. when a night of the 7 9 kingdoms returns next year. Hopefully they'll be early in 2027. I've got some ideas about some little side projects that we can throw in here and there, maybe to bring Game Gone Wrong back. Just something I'm thinking about. But we are going to go on our hiatus now. We do have, that doesn't mean that the Attitude of Aggression Wrestling podcast or the Attitude of Aggression Network will grind to a halt, because as I said, we get to go back to the Big Five project and cover wrestling and actually take up some of the historical aspects of unidentified history, because God knows that's a weekly development on the UFO front. But gentlemen, it has been my privilege and honor to work with you guys through these 9 weeks that we've covered this show, which, and that's 8 episodes and the one, yes, dunk and egg for the win. Absolutely, Lee. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you being a part of this broadcast.
Thanks, Lee.
Before we cut out, yeah, thank you so much, Lee. It has been a great show, a great way to wrap up this season. Let me go to you, DJ, first. I know you got a lot of stuff going on in the mindless side of the universe. Where can people check you out when they want to learn about beard tips, the Mindless Wrestling podcast, and how to look great shirtless when you're 50 plus years old?
If you want to find all of that information out, you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Mindless Pod. Myself, Rob, and Jason are on the Mindless Wrestling podcast each and every week on the Chairshot Radio Network. My own solo podcast, 30 Mindless Minutes. I took last week off. I'm back this week. Got a really special guest on there. Our Twitter friend, Jay. And I shouldn't say Twitter friend, because he and I have formed a friendship, genuine friendship, is my guest this week. And we are kind of dipping into how he views wrestling as a wrestling fan. And it's a really fun episode. And he's got a lot of great insight for wrestling fans.
Mr. Tunney, my bestie, where can people check you out, man?
Is that JPal?
Yes.
Yeah, great follow on X.
He really is.
Yeah, I've interacted with him a few times.
I think I followed him back when I could still follow people.
And we all wish you still had your account, Dave. Honestly, don't worry, we do. We all do. You had a lot of followers. It was always great when you retweet something from us. But you can follow me at BC Bunny, Chairshot Radio Network. Tune in tomorrow for a special Saturday edition. We're going to have a Sunday night's main event coming up here in a few weeks. Why not have a Saturday live edition of Bandwagon Nerds tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern at Chairshot Media. Tomorrow, Chairshot Radio Network, all your favorite streaming platforms. In the morning, you're going to get the Mindless Wrestling podcast. In the afternoon, you're going to get that said episode of 30 Mindless Minutes. I love doing this show because I love Game of Thrones, the entire universe, and I love talking about it with you guys. I was so looking forward to today, and I knew as much as I was looking forward to it, I was going to be sad at the end, because this is a project where we take giant breaks, and it's just the nature of the project. But yeah, I as much as I've enjoyed the best, in my opinion, season of the Game of Thrones universe, I've more enjoyed spending time with you guys and talking about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I mean, we've had a good year. I mean, we got 2 excellent series in 2026.
Yeah,
and
crazy,
can't
right?
complain. You can't complain about that.
We really got fed this year.
We did. And yeah, like Tony said, tune into Bandwagon Nerds on Chairshot Media YouTube channel tomorrow. Lots of D23. We get to recap the season finale. Speaking of season finales, X-Men 97. We're going to recap that. I don't know. We'll have to wait until we get the rundown to see if we're resuming our project. But good God, there's going to be enough stuff coming out of D23 that we may not need to. But as far as me, if you want to keep up with the show, then as I always say, please go right here. attitudeofaggression.com. That is the website. All the wrestling podcast episodes, unidentified history, and yes, Game Gone Wrong. All the episodes are there. You can go back and check out how this whole crazy thing started, Also, of course, go to the YouTube channel, Attitude of Aggression on YouTube channel. If you go there, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like, turn on notifications, leave some comments. A big shout out and thank you to all the people who tuned in on the live stream tonight. We had some regulars and we had some new people who offered great commentary tonight. That was awesome stuff. And they even did a little interning for us, Tony. So that
Yes.
found some answers for us.
Well, that's the great thing, about it. If it's so sad that we're leaving now and we're getting so much engagement. We have been building engagement, has been going, but that's the nice thing, with people are listening to you, you can kind of be like, hey, check that for us real quick, because what better thing than to be listening to and interacting with something, to drop a line and then get interacted with, right? So I
That's
think
the
you did a
beauty of
great
these
job.
live shows is the interaction. That's what makes these things possible and keeps the machine going.
That's why I like doing it live, because you get that instant feedback, and that sort of thing. And we don't, other than that one episode right before the X account got hacked where we were trolled, which may be a coincidence or not. These are always a lot of fun to do. But that, my friends, is going to do it. Maybe absence makes the heart grow fonder. When we come back, like I said, I've got an idea. A couple of episodes we can do, not a lot, but a few little side things we might be able to do along the way. But that's it, fellas. That is going to do it for Game Gone Wrong. Nothing really went wrong. For Renera, lots of shit went wrong. For us, we were fed very well, as DJ says, and we will be coming back when Night of the Nine Kingdoms returns sometime in 2027. And honestly, I think if there's any breaking news, any sort of breaking news, we could probably jump on here and do a quick 30-minute recap of something just to throw it out there. If we get anything important to talk about. What are you laughing about?
We couldn't do 30 minutes fucking anything if we tried. It'd be like hour and fucking 64 minutes, and that's 2 hours.
It's chemistry, buddy. We just like each other's company and talking to each other. But
what did he say? Photosynthesis?
Easy for you to pronounce. All right, look, that's it, guys. For everybody tuning in, thank you so much. We truly hope you enjoyed Game Gone Wrong for season 3. Hope you enjoyed House of the Dragon season 3. We will keep, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, we will certainly send out any notifications as any sort of side, projects or any breaking news projects we do for Game Gone Wrong. And of course, tune in if you're a pro wrestling fan for the Attitude of Aggression Wrestling Podcast, DWI Podcast, Mindless Wrestling Podcast. And if you're interested in ufology, yes, tune into Unidentified History. That's a weekly wild affair. But that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much to everybody. We'll see you in 2027, if not before then. It has been our pleasure. Everybody take care and keep an eye on your dragons.
Drakkar.